The next change on the M50 versus the C50 is the seat pan. If you'll notice, it has a different bracket here and then these forks that go under here. And that's what it'll look like in your kit, is this little unit here. Okay, so what you do is you unbolt this and then you fasten it to your seat pan just like that. So the block is sticking up. And then the forks are on the underside. They're like that. Fasten that and I'll show you how it mounts on the bike. Okay, this mounts to the motorcycle the same way as the C50. Just these two little prongs here just go under this little area right here. Slide under there. And then the two bolts go back here. That way you can take the whole thing off with the seat on. Just take these two bolts out and take the whole thing off. Seat stays on there to get your battery and everything. And then the other thing we want to do is make sure their little squigglies are to the left side on these springs. What that'll do is that'll rotate the spring forward to give you room to put your bolts in here. And then I'll show you how to install your seat next. You'll have to mount your bracket on the bottom of your seat in about this location right here. It ends up quite a ways back. I'm going to just hold that there for a minute. You may want to pause your computer while you put that on there. At least adjust this. This will be on the seat, but this is adjustable. Just loosen these two bolts and slide this to wherever you want there and then tighten it up. And there's some star washers under there to lock those. So anyway, that's about where it'll be, but I'm going to show you how to mount this on the motorcycle. Okay, this is the seat mounted on the motorcycle. These ears on the seat, for some reason, came on the inside of the springs on both sides. So it doesn't really matter inside or outside, whatever fits best. And then I actually painted the washer black. It looks a little bit better because the washer has to be on the spring side. So anyway, that's how that mounts. And now leave this just a little bit loose while you shove the bolt through the front. Now hopefully when you get this all mounted you have to push back just a little bit to push that bolt through there. That'll give you that little bit of gap right here on the front. Can you see that gap? You want just a little bit. You don't want that rubbing in there. As you sit on it, it'll go down and away from the tank. So anyway, that's about the best way to mount it. You'll actually be rotating springs backwards just a little bit when you push that bolt through there. But that's about the way it should work. So you know, you don't want it too much. But that seems like about the best position, clearance up front. The more the seat goes back, the lower the front will be. The further forward, the higher the front will be. So that's kind of how the seat works. But anyway, and then most important of all, don't just leave this bolt a little loose in front. Put a little oil on that when you get finished, because this has to pivot. Has to pivot on that bolt. So make sure you back that off just a little bit and leave it a little bit loose for that to be able to move. Then you can go ahead and snug these up. They won't pivot there. So there it is. The seat looks really nice on there. One other quick little thing we're going to do, and then you should revert totally back to the C50 video. Okay, there's a difference on this area on the swing arm here where this rear strut fastens to your M50. That's the other change from the C50. Okay, in your kit you'll have this same black bracket, just like this. It looks the same as the C50, but instead you'll have this extra bushing. That bushing there. And your bolt actually will be a little bit longer. So anyway, the way this works is that bushing goes inside that rubber grommet before you put this on. That way when you tighten this bolt up, it'll tighten against this bushing, and it won't squish that rubber. Now don't get too carried away on the torque on this, because this is aluminum. You don't want to crush all that stuff in there. But you can go ahead and just snug that up really nice there, and then that'll work, and it'll hold that a lot more secure than just tightening it up on that rubber bushing. So there's one other, I'm sorry, there's one other thing we need to cover on this video, and that'd be the handlebars. Well, one other thing on this too, put a little Loctite on these threads. That never hurts, and just in case, so you don't want that to vibrate out of there. So put a little Loctite on and then just cinch her up. Okay, we experimented with drag bars on this motorcycle, and gosh, it was hard because to use the stock risers, a drag bar was would hit the tank if they were back and they were in normal position. And if we turned the risers around like this and put a drag bar, then they were too far forward. So we decided to leave the stock bars. And it's kind of cool because it just puts the bars up and kind of tall and forward in that good-looking bobber position. So anyway, if you decided to go that route, here's the secret to it, and it's just real simple. Let's take a look at that. Okay, it's easy. All you got to do is just rotate these risers here. Just rotate the riser 180 degrees. What you're gonna do is just rotate it like that. So to do that, you'll have to take your clamps off the top, you'll have to take your speedometer off, and then you'll have to either loosen these bolts down below, or if you want, you can rotate them and then switch them from side to side. That way you won't have these tabs sticking out. The tabs, the original speedometer bracket will go on the inside. So either way, it looks fine, you know. And then do that, and then when you take your bar off, make sure you put a bunch of towels and stuff on your tank there, or especially here if you're going to set them on here to protect all that stuff from scratching. So you just basically remove the bars with these clamps on top, set them down, rotate the risers, and then we'll show you how to remount the speedometer here. Oh, one thing too, you'll have to readjust all your cables, or your clutch cable and everything, so make sure when you adjust all that stuff to that different position that you don't over tighten all this stuff. All these screws and stuff are going into bare aluminum there, so don't get too carried away in the torque. You can strip those out, but you want to position your clutch and your throttle cable so they feel really nice. Back to the speedometer. Okay, my brackets aren't painted, but that's a good thing, because then you can see them better on the video. So, okay, this is your speedometer. You have all this stuff off here, but you still have the rubber grommets in here. And that just fits over the handlebar like that. Okay, now we have this bracket here. This is the base bracket that fits inside. Now these little holes here are for wire ties. And this bracket basically just slides in here right like that. It just goes in between those legs where those rubber grommets are. That goes right in there, and then there's two screws that go on the bottom. Use the nylon screws, and then we'll leave this one out for a minute because that holds the top cover on. And then all you do is basically just run wire ties around your fork legs, and that wire ties that bracket to the handlebar and also holds the speedometer in place. Okay, now you can go ahead and attach your cover. It just has the one nylon screw up front here, and then two little screws on the sides. Just go ahead and attach that. I'm not real wild about this. I'm going to change this, but so yours will probably look a little bit different than that one. But anyway, that gives you the idea how it fastens on there. So I think that's it. When you put your handlebars on, make sure you line everything up with the front of this edge here when you look down before you put your speedometer on. All this stuff moves a little bit until you tighten it, so make sure it's nice and straight on there as you tighten it up. I'll give you an overall look at this bike, and then we'll revert you back to the C50 video. Okay, there you have it. Gosh, that bike looks good. We did put a 516, a 5.00-16 vintage tire on the front of this thing, and it just helps to give that big fat front end look. You can mount that front fender on those upper screws and make it work. So anyway, we've blacked out a few things, kind of made it our own custom bike, but gosh, that thing's fun to ride. So check it out, and then have fun building your own. That's the most important thing. Just build yours and have fun and build it your own way. And then go ahead and revert back to the C50 video, and it'll show you all the details of how to mount all the kits. So there you have it. Looks great. Ride safely.